I still remember the warmth of those nights like it was yesterday. Before the world fell apart, before the lines of blood and power split us in ways we could never have imagined, life was full of love. It was a simple life, really, one where dreams of unity, of peace, danced in the spaces between every glance, every conversation. My name is Rashid, and I was born in the heart of this land we called home. My family, my mother, father, and little sister, were everything to me. We lived in a small village, nestled near the borders of the city. The air was always thick with the scent of jasmine and the sound of birds singing their morning songs. Every day felt like a blessing. I remember waking up to my mother's sweet voice, calling us to prayer, our father's gentle reminders to study hard, and the laughter that spilled out of our home during family dinners. Those were the moments that made me feel like I belonged to something bigger than myself. The land, the people, the stories, we were one. And then there was Yasmin. Ah, Yasmin. She was everything I had ever dreamed of and more. She was more than just the girl from the neighboring town. She was my world, my heartbeat. We used to meet secretly, late at night, under the moonlight. It wasn't just the moon, though, that made those moments magical. It was the way we could talk for hours without feeling the weight of the world on our shoulders. We'd sit in the fields, the tall grass brushing against our skin, sharing stories about what we'd do when we were older. Our dreams were like promises, unspoken, yet deeply understood. We talked about a future where no boundaries would separate us, where love and unity would prevail over the petty divisions that some people seem to cling to so fiercely. We would speak of a world where religion didn't matter, where skin color didn't matter, where borders were just lines on a map and not walls between hearts. We were in love. And to us, that love was sacred, pure, and unbreakable. But nothing could prepare me for the winds of change that were blowing through the streets. I could feel it in the air, thick and heavy, like the calm before a storm. Political speeches echoed in the background, voices filled with promises of a new nation, a new order. I didn't quite understand what was happening at first. There were whispers, rumors, discussions in the local tea shop, but it wasn't until that night when I met Yasmin under the stars that I truly realized what was coming. I remember her face that night, how her eyes, normally so bright, were clouded with uncertainty. We sat there in silence for a while, just listening to the rustle of the leaves and the distant hum of the city. She held my hand, and I could feel the tremor in her fingers, a reflection of the fear we both felt deep down. "Do you think it will be all right?" she asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. I didn't know how to answer her. I wanted to say yes, that everything would be fine, that the world we dreamed of would still come to be. But I couldn't bring myself to say it, not with the way things were changing so quickly. The politicians had started talking about dividing the land. Some were already drawing borders on maps, claiming that dividing us into separate nations would bring peace, security, and progress. But in my heart, I knew that the peace they spoke of was not the peace we dreamed of. It was a false peace, built on separation, on the idea that some people were worth more than others based on where they were born or the faith they practiced. The world around us was shifting, and as much as I tried to ignore it, I could feel the weight of what was coming. That night, the uncertainty settled into my bones like a cold shadow. I held Yasmin tighter, not wanting to let go, not wanting to face what was ahead. But even as I tried to block it out, I knew things would never be the same. That night, we said our goodbyes, not knowing that it would be the last time. We promised to stay strong, to hold on to the love we shared, no matter what happened. But the world was changing, and there was nothing we could do to stop it. The next few days were a blur. There was talk of violence, of forced migrations, of families being torn apart. The air was thick with tension, and it seemed like every corner held the promise of something worse. I couldn't bring myself to believe it at first. How could something like this happen? How could our world, our beautiful world, be torn apart by something so senseless? But as the days passed, the reality began to sink in. The country was preparing to divide, to create new nations that would separate families, communities, and people who had lived together for generations. I don't know why it hit me so hard that day, the day we were forced to leave our home. Maybe it was the sound of the heavy boots marching down the street, or the anxious looks on the faces of my neighbors, but I felt it in my chest like a physical blow. The walls of our home, the ones I had grown up in, the ones I had laughed and cried behind, suddenly felt foreign to me. The life I had known was slipping through my fingers, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. The family packed quickly. My mother, tears in her eyes, told us to hurry, not to look back. My father's face was a mask of determination, but I could see the pain in his eyes as he took one last look at our house, our village, the land that had been our home. We made our way to the station in silence, each step feeling heavier than the last. The world around us seemed to be falling apart, and we were powerless to stop it. And then, as we reached the station, it happened. A sharp pain struck my chest, sudden, intense, like something was tearing me apart from the inside. I staggered, feeling the strength leave my body, and for a moment, everything went black. My family screamed my name, but I couldn't respond. I couldn't do anything. I felt myself sinking, drifting away from everything that had ever been familiar to me. The pain in my chest was unbearable, and yet somehow it didn't matter. The life I had known, the love, the connection, the dreams, was slipping away, fading into the darkness. In that moment, I didn't know what to expect. Would I die here, on this cold, unfamiliar road? Would I be forever separated from Yasmin, from my family, from everything I had ever loved? Would this be the last moment of my existence? As the world around me went silent, all I could do was hold on to the memory of Yasmin's face, the love in her eyes, the way her lips had trembled when she said goodbye. It was the only thing that mattered now. And then, everything went still. I remember the exact moment my heart stopped. The pain in my chest, it was like someone had grabbed it and squeezed all the life out of me in one cruel twist. Everything went dark for a second, then light, and then nothing. The noise around me, the frantic voices of my family calling out my name, started to fade like the sound of a radio slowly losing signal. I wasn't there anymore, not in the way I'd been before. It wasn't like closing your eyes and falling asleep. No, this felt different. It felt like floating. There I was, just floating above it all. My body, still lying there, crumpled on the cold ground, surrounded by my family. They were screaming, calling for help, but I couldn't feel their hands on me, couldn't feel their tears hitting my skin. I couldn't even feel my own body anymore. I was separate, detached. I looked down at myself, lying there, lifeless, pale. My heart, the one that had loved Yasmin, that had beaten with the rhythm of my family's voices, was silent now. They said something to each other in frantic whispers, but I couldn't make out the words. I could only watch as my family huddled around me, their faces twisted in confusion and fear. My little sister, she was crying, clinging to my mother, not understanding what was happening. And my father, oh, my father. His face was frozen, like a man who couldn't believe the nightmare unfolding before him. But me? I wasn't scared. I wasn't panicking like I thought I would be. Maybe it was because I knew. I knew what was happening. The world below me was fading. I could feel it. The separation, the distance from all that I knew, from the life I'd lived, the pain, the fear, the uncertainty, it was all below me now. The chaos was still there, still swirling in the streets, people running in every direction, trying to escape the madness that was tearing our world apart. But me, I was rising above it like a leaf caught in the wind. The sounds of the world, shouting, screaming, the cries of people who were losing everything, began to blur. I could feel my consciousness moving further from it all, like I was slipping away from the earth itself. As I floated, I saw the people rushing to the borders, families being torn apart, the streets full of people who were just lost. I saw the smoke rising from the distant fires, the confusion of people who couldn't understand what was happening, what was being done to them. But none of it was mine anymore. It wasn't my pain to carry, not anymore. And then, out of the crowd, I saw her, Yasmin. She was walking away, her back to me, her face turned down, lost in her own thoughts. She didn't see me, didn't know I was there. My heart, or whatever part of me that still felt like it had a heart, ached so deeply it felt like my soul was cracking. Yasmin, my love, the one I had dreamed of a future with, was walking away from me. She was leaving, just like the rest of the world was leaving. And I was here, floating above it all, unable to reach her. I wanted to call out to her, I wanted to scream her name, but I couldn't. My voice was gone, my body gone. It was like being trapped in a dream you couldn't wake up from, where everything you loved was right there, but always just out of reach. It didn't make sense. How could this be real? How could everything I knew, everything I loved, be slipping through my fingers like sand? It was all so sudden, like a dream that shifted from something beautiful to something terrifying. One minute I was alive, holding Yasmin's hand, talking about our future, and now I was floating, lost in the space between life and death. But there was no fear, only a strange sense of detachment, a curiosity, even. I wasn't sad, at least not in the way I thought I would be. It was like I was observing everything from a distance, watching the drama of life unfold without being a part of it. I was untouchable now. My soul, my essence, it felt light. Not heavy with grief or anger or fear, but light, like I was being pulled towards something. Something. I wasn't sure what it was at first, but then slowly I began to feel it. A light in the distance. Soft, warm, like the sun on a perfect morning. It wasn't the sun, though. It was something else. Something otherworldly. It pulled me, gently like a magnet, and the more I drifted toward it, the more the world below faded. The noise, the pain, the struggle, everything just faded. As I moved closer to the light, I could see the land below growing more distant. The lines, the borders, the countries that were about to be divided, they seemed smaller, insignificant. The people down there were still suffering, still struggling, but from up here, it felt like I was too far away to reach them, too far away to make a difference. But then, something whispered to me, maybe it was the wind, maybe it was thoughts, but it was clear. You're not meant to stop here. Not yet. And that's when I felt it, the pull, stronger now. It wasn't just a pull toward the light, it was a pull toward something more, something beyond what I had known. A place where love didn't need borders, where pain didn't need to exist, where everything was whole. It was a sense of belonging that I didn't understand, but I felt it deeply. It wasn't just peace, it was home. I looked back one last time at the land I'd known, at the people who were fighting to escape, at Yasmin, who was walking away, unaware of the finality of it all. And I let go. I didn't need to hold on anymore. The light enveloped me, and as it did, I felt my spirit being pulled away from the earth, away from the pain and the suffering. The world I had known was behind me now. The chaos, the violence, the borders that divided us, it was all fading, like a dream slipping away with the dawn. And as I drifted closer to the light, I felt something that I couldn't put into words. A deep peace, a sense of belonging. It was like coming home after a long journey. The world I had left behind was still out there, struggling with its own divisions, its own wars. But I wasn't there anymore. I was moving towards something greater. Something that wasn't defined by borders or hatred, by lines that separated people. It was a place where love was free, where love didn't need permission to exist. I didn't know where this light would lead me, but I didn't need to know. I was ready to follow it. And somehow, deep in my heart, I knew that this wasn't the end. This wasn't the final chapter of my story. There was more to come. I was ready for what was next. I never expected to meet him like this. Wallahi, I thought it would be Muhammad that I would see. I thought that's who would come for me, you know? The one who would bring peace, who would help me make sense of this chaos. I had always felt connected to him in my heart, especially when things got tough. But now, here I was, floating. Subhanallah, in this light, completely lost in this strange, peaceful place, and there was no one else but him. At first, I couldn't see his face clearly. The light around him was too bright, almost blinding. But I knew. I knew who it was before I even saw him. The presence was like nothing I've ever felt. It wasn't forceful, it wasn't overwhelming in the way you'd expect from someone so powerful. It was gentle. Kind, like a soft breeze on a hot summer day. At the same time, it held the weight of the entire universe. Ish, man. This light, it felt like it was wrapping me up, comforting me in a way I didn't even know I needed. It was peace. Deep, unshakable peace. I remember just standing there, or floating, or whatever you want to call it, and feeling this wave of warmth hit me. My body couldn't feel it anymore, but my soul was lit up like the Noor itself. I had no idea where I was or what I was supposed to be doing, but in that moment, I wasn't scared. Not one bit. I thought I'd be nervous, right? It's Jesus after all. But there was something about him, something in the air that made all the fear, all the questions just fade away. And then slowly he came closer. His figure, this man, so peaceful but so radiant, began to materialize in front of me. At first I thought, Ya Allah, this can't be real. But it was. His face, his eyes. I could see them now, and the look in them, Habi, I can't describe it. It was like he knew everything about me. Not just the stuff I'd done, but the stuff I felt. The doubts, the hopes, the pain, the love. It was like he could see into the core of my being, and yet he didn't judge me, not even a little bit. And you know what? I don't think he even had to speak for me to understand. His eyes said everything. His presence, it just was. It was enough. Without even realizing it, I found myself on my knees. My head was bowed. My heart was wide open. I didn't need to say anything because I felt what I was supposed to feel. Peace and acceptance, subhanallah. The kind of acceptance you can't find anywhere else in this world. In that moment, I knew that whatever I had believed, whatever I had held onto before this, didn't matter. Not in the way I thought it did. All those walls I had built in my mind, all those lines we'd drawn between ourselves, all the things that made us different, suddenly, they didn't seem to matter. Jesus didn't speak with words at first. There was no booming voice, no grand speech about the ways of the world or the divisions that man had caused. Instead, it was his presence that spoke louder than anything else. It wasn't just his words, it was the love in his eyes. It was the kindness that seemed to pour out of him, like a river that couldn't be stopped, washing over everything and everyone in its path. It wasn't about borders. It wasn't about religion. It wasn't about who was right and who was wrong. It was about love. That's it. Love that doesn't know a line, doesn't know a boundary. A love that doesn't care about race or nationality or any of those things that tear us apart. His love was universal. It was like a deep current that pulled me into it, and I couldn't resist. It was pure. It was whole. I swear on my soul. If there's one thing I've learned in this life, it's that the world has it backwards. We're taught to separate, taught to look for differences, taught to put ourselves into these little boxes. But in that moment, none of that mattered. There was no separation in his love. There was no us and them. There was no you're from here, so you belong here, and I'm from there, so I stay here. No, I felt it in my bones, in my soul. We were all the same. Kulla, all of us. Every soul, no matter where they came from or what they believed, we are all the same. And this love, this pure, unconditional love, it was bigger than any line, any border. Jesus didn't say anything about the pain of partition, not directly, but I could feel it. It was there. He wasn't blind to the suffering, to the mess we'd created, but he didn't want to focus on that. He wasn't here to condemn us for our divisions. He was here to show us something else, the way to peace, the way to healing, the way to unity. I've thought about it since, and I think, subhanallah, it's like he wanted to remind me that despite the walls we've built between ourselves, there's one thing that can't be destroyed. That's love. Love knows no boundaries, and it never will. No man can take it away. No government, no border, no religion. It's eternal. And in that moment, surrounded by his light, I felt like I was connected to everybody, the whole of humanity. It wasn't just the people I knew. It was the whole world. Every single person, every soul was tied together by that love. I didn't know what I was supposed to do with all this yet. I didn't know how to bring this message to the world, but I knew one thing for sure: there was no going back. There was no unseeing what I had just seen, and there was no unfeeling the love I had just felt. Jesus didn't judge me. He didn't tell me that I'd been wrong or that I hadn't done enough. He didn't hold anything over me, despite the mistakes I'd made. It was like he already knew what was in my heart. He knew that I tried, and if anything, he wanted me to try harder, to spread love and peace, not just within myself, but to others, to everyone, to all of us. And then I understood. I understood what he was saying. He was saying it wasn't just about us as individuals, it was about humanity as a whole. He was asking me, us, all of us, to put down the walls, to tear down the borders we've put up in our hearts, because there's no wall big enough to stop love from flowing. In the presence of Jesus, I realized something that made everything I thought I knew fall apart. Love, real love, is what will heal us. And if we can't love each other, then we'll keep going in circles, stuck in these endless divisions, and the world will never change. It'll just keep breaking. I stayed there for a while, just taking it all in. And when I looked up, I knew it was time. He hadn't said a word, but I understood what he wanted from me. He wanted me to go back, to take this message of love, of unity, to the world below. And I knew I had to do it. I had no choice. I didn't even know what hit me when the vision started. 1 second, I'm still feeling that peace from Jesus, like, mashallah. I'm still in that light, still floating in a place where everything makes sense, and then the next, everything flips. It's like the light starts to fade, and what comes next hits me harder than anything I've ever felt in my life. I was still in this realm, but I wasn't floating anymore. I was standing in the middle of a place that I recognized all too well, but it looked different. The land I knew was no longer whole. It was torn apart. I could feel the earth beneath me shaking, as if the land itself was screaming for the peace it had lost. There it was, the land that I thought would always be one, divided. The land that once belonged to all of us, now cut in half. The borders, the lines. I could see them, drawn by human hands, sharp and cruel, dividing everything, families, communities, even the very soil beneath our feet. And in the distance, I could hear the screams, the cries of people who were being torn away from everything they knew, everything they loved. Ya Allah, it was like the air itself was filled with pain. I could feel it, I could taste it. And there, right in front of me, I saw my own people, my family, Habibi. They were standing at the border, some of them trying to cross into the land they once called home. Some were stopped, trapped by that invisible line, unable to move forward. Others, they couldn't go back. Not anymore. I saw my father looking around with that lost expression he used to get when he couldn't understand something. I saw my mother, her eyes wide, filled with worry, trying to hold everything together. I could hear their voices, but they didn't hear me. It was like I was screaming and nothing would come out. And then, like a dagger to my chest, there she was. Yasmin. My Yasmin. I could see her standing on the other side of that cruel border, looking lost. She was looking around like she was searching for me, but she couldn't see me. I wanted to run to her. Subhanallah, I wanted to break through that line and hold her, but it was like an invisible wall was keeping me away. The distance between us was unbearable. I could feel my heart breaking. My whole body was screaming out, but I couldn't do anything. She was on the other side of that line, that damn line. The one that the politicians had drawn, the one that divided us, the one that turned love into something impossible. We were no longer in the same world. That border had taken her from me, and there was no going back. I couldn't stop staring at her face, though. I couldn't stop looking at her, even though I knew we'd never be together again. The world felt so small, but at the same time so incredibly huge, too big to ever bring us back together. I felt like I was drowning, stuck between two worlds I couldn't reach, and that was when the vision started to shift. Suddenly I saw the land after the partition, the devastation. Cities that were once full of life, now reduced to rubble. I saw the ruins of places I had walked through, the streets I had loved, now covered in dust and ashes. Buildings crumbled like they had never existed in the first place. There were no signs of life, no joy, just silence. Only the wind, blowing through broken windows and shattered walls, carrying with it the echoes of a peaceful world that no longer existed. I saw the people who had once been my neighbors, my friends, scattered, displaced, broken, and afraid. Families torn apart by the lines. The refugees, the ones who had to leave their homes, trying to find somewhere safe. But where was safe anymore? The world had become a prison of borders. The land had become a battlefield. The chaos was everywhere. The politicians, the leaders, they were nowhere to be seen. They had declared victory as if the world had been fixed, as if the line that separated us had solved everything. But I saw the truth in front of me. It wasn't solved. No, it was only beginning. The cost of this new world was visible in every broken home, in every lost child, in every tear that had fallen. The streets were filled with people, some searching for their families, others just trying to survive. I saw the bloodshed, the fights, the hatred, the divisions between people who were once brothers and sisters. It was as if everything that connected us was ripped away by the hand of man. The language didn't matter. The religion didn't matter. We had all been the same once. But now, everything was defined by a line. As I watched, the vision kept shifting. I saw the political leaders, the ones who had drawn the lines in the sand, the ones who had declared victory as if this was a war that could be won. But what were they really winning? They sat on their thrones looking down at their world, but they couldn't see the truth. They couldn't see the faces of the broken families, the ones whose lives had been ruined by their decisions. They couldn't see the destruction they had caused. They couldn't feel the pain. And then, as the vision kept unfolding, I heard Jesus' voice again. It was soft. SubhanAllah, it was so gentle, but there was something powerful in it too. He spoke not with anger, but with understanding, with compassion. Man has created these borders, but love knows no boundaries, he said, his voice filling the air like a quiet but firm breeze. The heart cannot be divided by lines. These walls will one day fall. His words hung in the air, and for the first time, I felt hope. It wasn't the hope that depended on people fixing things or politicians changing their minds. No, it was the kind of hope that comes from knowing that the divisions we've created, whether we're talking about borders, religions, or anything else, they don't last forever. They can't. Love will always find a way to break through. It has to. It's stronger than any wall we can build. Jesus wasn't focused on the pain of partition. He wasn't looking at the bloodshed, the suffering, the broken families. No, he was looking at something else, something beyond the borders we had drawn. He was looking at the unity of humanity. He was showing me that the love between us, the love that transcends any division, that is what will outlast all of this. The vision started to fade, and I felt myself being pulled away from it, but I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't lost. I knew in my heart that this was what I had to share. The message, the love, the unity. The land was divided, yes, but it didn't have to stay that way. The vision didn't stop with the land I knew. As I kept drifting, the boundaries and borders started to stretch like they were a disease infecting the whole world. What I saw next was so much bigger than my own story. It was like my soul was transported across time and space, and suddenly I was in a whole other reality. I was standing in the middle of the Middle East. The streets were lined with old buildings, beautiful, ancient places I'd seen in pictures, but now everything felt broken. People were running, shouting, their faces twisted with fear, and the smell of smoke filled the air. Ya Habibi, I could see the same hatred, the same destruction. People who once lived side by side, Muslims, Christians, Jews, now divided by the very same lines we had drawn. I could feel the tension in the air, the bitter sting of separation, as if something precious had been torn away from them. I watched families, just like mine, being ripped apart by the cruelty of borders that had no love in them. I moved through the scene, my heart aching. I saw a mother and child clinging to each other as they tried to cross into what was supposed to be safety, but there was no safety anymore. The war, the suffering, the walls, they were everywhere. I saw men in military uniforms, their faces hard as stone, barking orders to keep people in their place. No one was allowed to pass freely. There were no bridges between them, just walls. The hatred spread like a disease, and I could hear the whispers of old enemies calling each other names, blaming each other for everything that went wrong. The lines had come to life in a way that I couldn't even explain. I saw their faces, the anger, the fear, the confusion. The us versus them mentality was so ingrained that it had become their reality. These people, these brothers and sisters, had been divided by borders and ideas that never should have mattered. La ilaha illallah. The pain in their eyes, it was the same pain I had seen in my own people. It was the same pain I had felt in my own heart when I saw Yasmin across that border. But this wasn't just one place. This wasn't just the Middle East. No. The vision stretched further, showing me Africa, Eastern Europe, places where the lines we drew had fractured lives, families, and entire nations. I found myself standing in the middle of a dusty village in Africa. The earth was red, and the heat pressed down like a weight. The people here, they had the same expression as the ones in the Middle East. You could feel the suffering in the very air. They were separated by the lines of political decisions that didn't care about the people they hurt. Tribal differences, religion, skin color, it all became something I watched something to fight over. I watched children, walking barefoot on the rough earth, their eyes empty of hope, knowing only war, only division. I saw families struggling to stay together, but the violence that surrounded them tore them apart. The idea of us versus them had already taken root. Some of them were fighting for survival, others fighting for revenge. What did it even mean anymore? What had we become? Ya Allah, the tears in their eyes, it was like seeing my own family lost in the chaos, fighting for something they could never reach. I moved again, and I found myself in Eastern Europe. The streets were cold, the buildings gray and oppressive, and I could feel the chill in the air. People were shouting in languages I didn't understand, but I could feel their pain all the same. People here, families, communities, were divided by borders that weren't just lines on a map. They were scars on the soul of humanity. They had been torn apart by wars, by ideologies that didn't care about the people whose lives they destroyed. In the distance, I could see a family trying to cross a bridge that was guarded by soldiers. There was a woman holding her child in her arms, her face etched with fear. But she wasn't afraid of the soldiers. No, she was afraid of what would happen to them if they didn't cross that bridge, if they didn't escape. What would happen to them if they were on the wrong side of that invisible line? What had they done wrong? Why should they be punished? The question echoed in my mind as I watched them, helpless. I could hear the whispers of hate that had been passed down through generations. "You're not one of us," they said. "You're different. You don't belong here." And that's when it hit me. This was everywhere. These lines, these borders, weren't just about land or politics. They were about something deeper, something inside us. They were about fear, fear of the other, fear of what's different. And that fear had been passed down generation after generation until it became the foundation of so many conflicts. Allah, the pain was everywhere. The suffering, the war, the displacement, the hatred. This wasn't just about one piece of land or one set of borders. This was humanity's struggle. This was the dunya itself, torn apart by the lines we had drawn, the walls we had built between us. I watched as time seemed to skip forward. The vision showed me families still carrying the weight of the past, even decades later. The scars of partition were everywhere. You could see it in their eyes, hear it in their voices. The children, growing up with hate in their hearts for people they had never met. The old grudges passed down like family heirlooms, never letting go of their grip. I saw politicians then, standing on podiums, making speeches, the same promises, the same words of division. We are better than them, they said. We are stronger than them. We are different from them. It was like nothing had changed. These leaders, both past and present, had built their careers on the backs of division, on the fear that they had nurtured in the hearts of their people. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I felt the weight of that truth in my bones. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shout at them, tell them how wrong they were, how they had torn us all apart for nothing. For what? Power? Control? Division? And then there was Jesus. Standing next to me, his presence calm yet strong. His eyes were full of sadness, but there was no anger. There was only love. His hand rested gently on my shoulder like he was reassuring me, like he was telling me that he understood. These lines, he said, his voice soft but urgent. These borders, they are the tools of division. If man continues to choose hate over love, suffering will never end. Choose to see the humanity in one another, for only then will peace begin. I could feel his words deep inside me. The lines, the borders, they were nothing but tools of division. Tools that kept us apart, kept us fighting. But love was the only thing that could tear those walls down. Love was the only thing strong enough to heal the wounds we had inflicted on ourselves. It didn't matter if we were Muslim, Christian, Jew, Hindu, or anything else. It didn't matter if we were black, white, or brown. It didn't matter where we were from. The only thing that mattered was seeing each other as human beings, as brothers and sisters. The vision didn't end there, but I knew then that this was the truth I had to carry with me. The world was broken, subhanallah, but it didn't have to stay that way. We had to choose love. We had to choose unity. The light around me grew even brighter, a warmth that felt like it was soaking right into my bones. There was no fear, just peace. But that peace, it felt fragile. Subhanallah, the weight of the moment pressed on me like a storm on the horizon, and I knew something was coming, something big. I had barely begun to understand what was happening when Jesus turned to me, his eyes full of compassion, but also something else, urgency. You see the divisions, he said, his voice soft yet powerful. You feel the pain of the world, the hate that has spread like wildfire. Humanity is at a crossroads, my child. Ya Allah, they are choosing darkness over light, division over unity. But they don't understand. They don't see the damage they are causing, the suffering they are inflicting on themselves and each other. His words were like a sharp knife, cutting through my heart. I could feel everything he said deep in my chest. The weight of those words was more than just a truth. I could feel the urgency. I had been in the midst of this suffering, this pain, my entire life. The world, my people, our struggles. It was like I was finally seeing the bigger picture. Jesus continued, his voice growing more intense as he spoke. The divisions are deepening. The walls are being built higher. But there is still time. There is still time for change, but only if man chooses love over hate, unity over division. If they don't, if they keep building these walls, then the suffering will only grow. SubhanAllah, it will never end. I wanted to shout, to argue, but I didn't know what to say. I had seen the pain, felt it in my own bones. But here, in this place of light and peace, there was no room for anger, no room for blame. There was only truth. The world, dunya, was lost in this never-ending cycle, like a ship caught in a storm with no way out. I couldn't just stand there watching the world tear itself apart. Allah! I knew I had to do something. And then Jesus looked at me, really looked at me, and it was like he saw everything inside me. The doubts, the pain, the uncertainty. His eyes softened and he spoke again, this time with a tenderness that wrapped around me like a blanket. You must return, he said. The words heavy, like they carried the weight of the world itself. You must go back to your family, to your land. You are a messenger of love, of unity. You will be the bridge, the connection between divided hearts. The message you carry is simple. Love. Love is the answer, my child. It always has been, but the time to share it is now. It is urgent. I felt the weight of those words in my soul. I didn't know if I was ready. The world out there, it was chaos, the wars, the hatred, the suffering. It was too much. How could I be a part of changing that? Who was I to carry such a message? But in that moment, standing in the presence of Jesus, it didn't matter. His calm, his peace, it spoke to something deep inside me that I hadn't even realized existed. Something pure, something that knew the truth. The truth that love, unity, and peace were the only ways forward. I know it is hard, Jesus continued, as though he could read my heart. I know the world is broken. You will face hardship, pain, and rejection. But your role is not to save the world alone. You are a seed. Plant the message, share the love, and let others do the same. It is time for humanity to choose its path. I could feel my spirit trembling, torn between the weight of the task ahead and the sense of peace that had washed over me. But there was something else, something that pushed me forward, a call that I couldn't ignore. The message was too important. It wasn't just for me, it wasn't just for my family. It was for everyone. And that truth was the thing that gave me the strength to agree. I will go back, I whispered, the words trembling in my throat. I will share the message. I will carry the love. I will bridge the divide. Jesus smiled. It wasn't a smile of pride or victory. No, it was a smile of hope, as if he knew the road ahead would be hard, but he also knew that the seeds I planted would grow, inshallah, into something beautiful. His voice softened again, but the urgency was still there. The world needs you, needs all of you. You are not alone in this. Remember, the power of love is greater than any division. Even if the world fights it, even if they resist it, love will prevail. As he spoke those words, I felt something shift inside me. It was like the weight that had been pressing on my chest, the weight of the world, of division, of separation, was finally lifting. I wasn't alone. I wasn't just one soul trying to make a difference. I was part of something bigger, something eternal. The light around us grew even brighter, like the very air itself was vibrating with energy. Go now, Jesus said softly. Go and share the message of unity. Go and tell them that love knows no borders, no lines, no divisions. Tell them that the heart cannot be divided. Love is the bridge, always has been, always will be. I nodded, my heart heavy but full of purpose. The vision of a world torn apart by hatred, by politics, by borders, it stayed with me, but now it wasn't just a vision, it was a call that I couldn't ignore. And then, as quickly as the light had come, it began to fade. The warmth, the peace, It lingered in my heart, but I could feel myself being pulled back. Back to the world. Back to the chaos. Back to my family. It wasn't going to be easy. But I knew now. I knew my purpose. I had a message to share, and I had to share it no matter what. I had to be the bridge between the divided hearts of humanity. I had to bring love where there was hate, peace where there was war. And so, as the light dimmed and I felt myself being pulled away, I whispered a prayer for strength, a prayer for courage, a prayer that the message of love would reach those who needed it most. Ya Allah, help me. Help me bring peace. Help me spread love. I don't know how long I was gone, but when I woke up, everything was different. The first thing I felt was a sharp pain in my chest, like my heart was trying to make its way back into my body after being ripped out. I couldn't breathe properly at first, and the light in the room was too bright, too sharp. My head was spinning, and I had no idea where I was. I tried to move, but my body felt so weak, like I hadn't used it in years. There were voices around me, muffled, distant, like I was hearing them from underwater. He's awake! Oh my God, he's awake! The words sounded familiar, like something I should know, but my brain was still trying to piece everything together. When my vision finally cleared, I saw them. Doctors, nurses, my family. My Ummah and Abba were standing by my bedside, their faces a mix of shock and disbelief. I could see it in their eyes. They thought I was gone. I was supposed to be gone. I was supposed to be just another casualty of a cruel, broken world. But I wasn't. I was here, alive. Alhamdulillah. I was breathing. But it wasn't just my body that had returned, it was my spirit, my soul. I had been given another chance. I had been pulled back from whatever place I had just come from, a place of light, a place where I had met Jesus. And now I had a mission, a message. And I couldn't keep it to myself any longer. I opened my mouth, my voice raspy like I hadn't spoken in days. I've seen it. I've seen the truth. Wallahi. I've seen the world the way it's supposed to be. And the way it is. I met him. I met Jesus. And he told me to come back and tell everyone. My mom's eyes welled up with tears, but she didn't say anything at first. My Abba was standing there, his hands folded across his chest, looking at me like he didn't know whether to hug me or scold me. He was skeptical, always had been. Not in a bad way, just practical. A man of the world, so to speak. But that wasn't going to stop me. I had to share this. I pushed myself up into a sitting position despite the dizziness and weakness. You don't get it. The world is divided. People are hurting, and it's because of these borders, these walls we've built between ourselves. Yani, these lines are fake. These countries, these religions, they're just divisions of man. I saw it. I saw the truth. The only thing that can heal us is love. Real love, the kind that Jesus showed me. My younger sister, Layla, leaned in, her eyes wide with disbelief. You saw Jesus? You're serious, right? She asked, her voice trembling as if she couldn't quite process what I was saying. Yes, Bibti. He showed me the truth. The world is broken, but we can fix it. But we can't do it with hate. We can't do it with division. We need to come together, all of us, every one of us, whether we're Muslim, Christian, Jew, or whatever. We need to choose love. We need to see past the lines we've drawn on the map. Only then can there be peace. The room was silent. My family didn't know what to say. Some of them were confused, maybe even angry. They had never seen me like this before. They had never seen me speak with such passion, with such certainty. But they could see it in my eyes. I wasn't the same person I had been before. I wasn't just some guy who had been caught in the whirlwind of politics and violence. I was someone with a mission, a purpose. I had seen something they hadn't. Something that I couldn't explain, but something that I knew in my soul. I looked around at all of them, my family, my friends. They had all been affected by the violence, by the suffering. They had all felt the pain of separation, of loss. This is not just for us, though. It's not just for our family, for our people. It's for everyone. The world needs to hear this. The world needs to wake up and understand that these borders, these lines, khalas, they don't matter. The only thing that matters is the heart. The only thing that matters is love. My mother reached out to touch my hand, her fingers trembling. You've seen something, haven't you? Something that has changed you. But how can we do this? How can we change the world? The world is too far gone. Look at the news. Look at the hate. Look at what's happening in the streets. You're telling us that love can fix all that? I nodded slowly. Yes, Mom. Love can. It's the only thing that can. I saw it. I felt it. Jesus didn't come to condemn, Yani. He came to show us how to love, how to unite, how to heal the wounds we've created. We have to stop looking at each other like enemies. We have to stop fighting over the things that don't matter. We are all human, all created by the same God. Allah gave us this world, gave us life, and we're here to share it, not to destroy it. I could see the skepticism in their eyes, but I also saw something else, a flicker of something. Maybe hope, maybe doubt. But there was something that told me they were listening, alhamdulillah. But I couldn't just stop here. I couldn't just share this with my family. This message, it was bigger than them. It was bigger than me. It was a message for the whole world, and I knew that I had to get it out there. I had to spread it. That night, as I lay in the hospital bed, the words of Jesus echoed in my mind, "These walls will fall." And I knew it wasn't just some idealistic fantasy. It wasn't just some dream. It was a truth. The walls would fall, but it was up to us to bring them down. I thought about Yasmin. Ya Allah, how could I tell her that I had seen the world through different eyes? How could I make her see that this division, this separation, this was all temporary? That our love was bigger than any border, any religion, any political divide? How could I tell her that there was hope for the future? That we could rebuild the world with love? I didn't have all the answers, but one thing was clear. My mission had only just begun. The world wasn't going to change overnight, and I wasn't going to change the world alone. But if I could touch one life, if I could spread this message to one heart, then that was enough. Because love spreads, like a fire that starts with a single spark. And as I lay there in the sterile, cold hospital bed, my heart felt anything but cold. There was a warmth inside me now. A fire. A fire that I couldn't put out no matter how hard I tried. Ya Allah, please help me. Help me carry this message. Help me heal these wounds. Help me spread love and unity to every corner of this broken world. Time was running out, but I would not give up. I would keep pushing, keep talking, keep sharing, because the only thing that could save us was love. And no border, no wall, no force on earth could stop that. And with that, I knew I had a job to do, a mission, and I would carry it out until the end of my days. Inshallah.